Chapter 19. Waiting for the nice sheriff to show up. Once I left my job, it was apparent that I could no longer make the steep mortgage payments any longer. The home had been refinanced so many times that it had gone from a reasonable payment to outrageous. I refinanced it one more time within that year. I had gotten messed up with a crooked mortgage broker who lied to me about the interest rate. I now owed much more than the house was worth, and it was upside down. The ATM machine had dried up. I had resigned myself that I would let the home go into foreclosure and I would ride out the storm. In the state of Michigan, you have 1 year before the mortgage company can repossess your home. The Titanic was sinking, and I was determined I would go down with it. One of my idols had been my credit rating. That quickly was going down the tubes. My FICO score was plummeting each month that I did not make the payment. I was collecting unemployment, which Jim had agreed to pay. I was also collecting rental income from the back house and told the renter he would have to leave when I left as well. I also liquidated my IRA. My family now had to hear the raw truth that I had been having a hot affair with my boss, and that was the reason I left my career. Once again, it was more drama than they could handle. The Lord had been doing some healing in our relationship over all those years, but now they were looking at me as the classic religious hypocrite. Once again, it set me up for rejection, criticism, and isolation. My father and two of my brothers tried to throw money and advice at the situation when Harold was dying, but the abyss was too deep to fix. My father has always been prophetic and doesn't even know it. He and my mother were invited to our home for Thanksgiving 1 year when Harold was alive. My motive was I wanted to show off the homes and impress my parents with my material success. My dad got out of the car and said, "I hope this doesn't end up on the auction block." He was amazed at all the work that had been done and the obvious amount of money that had been spent restoring the homes. Another idol that was being knocked down was work. I had hidden in my job, and my identity in who I was deeply rooted in my career. I was beginning to see that, and I decided to take time off and not work. I had enough income that I could live meagerly since I was not paying the mortgage. I cut all the fat out in the budget, and I was saving money for my next move. Another idol that was being knocked down was pride and materialism. I learned the hard way that the people that you are trying to impress will be the first ones that will laugh at you as you're standing on the courthouse steps having your home auctioned. Trying to keep up with the Jones is a demonic lie rooted in the spirits of pride, competition, arrogance, and insecurity. Competing against others is costly and dangerous. None of it matters in the kingdom of God. You should be building your mansion in heaven with souls that you've won and not worrying about how fancy your home is on earth. You know you are a workaholic when you have spent 13 years living right on Lake Michigan and have never had your feet in the water. That was my case. I had never been to the beach other than parking my car and looking at the water in between appointments. I decided that I was going to have fun and attempt to do it without pot. I spent most of the time on the beach and was trying to get in touch with reality. It was also at this time that the Lord had instructed me to write Jim's wife, who had found out about the affair. and ask for her forgiveness. I addressed the letter to his wife and the two girls and begged that they would forgive me for stealing/borrowing their husband and father. I told them that I did not want to be responsible for any of them getting sick with bitterness because they hated my guts and were holding grudges. I acknowledged that I would hate me too, but for their own good, they needed to forgive me with their heart and not their head. Time was getting close to having to vacate the home. I had given away my furniture, appliances, and accessories. I did not feel that I was to have a big sale. I felt led to give to those that needed things. I had all my personal belongings packed up in 14 banana boxes and had kept the antiques and enough furniture to fill a small apartment. I had already made arrangements in another town directly on Lake Michigan to rent an affordable studio apartment in another Victorian home. On day 363, my good friend Paul called me up in the evening and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm sitting in my empty living room in the corner on the floor crying because I have to leave. The nice county sheriff will be coming in 2 days to vacate the home." He said, "Stop your crying, get dressed, and we'll go have dinner, okay?"